Yesterday, Akash Deep produced a ripper to dismiss Joe Root. Wide the crease, angling in, straightening on middle and off, Root playing down the wrong line, castled. Absolute beauty, and we wax lyrical on the way how Akash Deep was making an impact. But now, there is one more visual. And yesterday at Sports Today, we had dedicated about 5 to 7 minutes as to what this was. It was this particular delivery. Now, the visual that has emerged is that Akash Deep's foot probably cut the back crease. And Alison Mitchell, the former England player who was on commentary in BBC TMS, pointed out that perhaps the third umpire did not spot it. Was Akash Deep really guilty of a back foot no ball? Remember, front foot is not the problem, it's the back foot. Was he guilty? Because what does the MCC rule on the back foot no ball says? Bowler's back foot must land within and not touching the return crease, appertaining to his or her stated mode of delivery. Land within and not touching the return crease. These are the two things. Landing within, fine. More than half of the foot is landing inside. But is it touching? That is the key. Now there is one more subclause. 21.5.1 of the no ball rule is there, but there's another subclause which says in 21.5.2, bowler's front foot must land with some part of the foot, whether grounded or raised, on the same side of the imaginary line joining the two middle stumps as the return crease described in 21.5.1. Front foot should also be there. There is a popping crease up front, but there is a back crease which is not that prominent. The line isn't all the way down. The meeting point of the imaginary line joining the two middle stumps. Middle on the non-striker's end, middle on the striker's end. That is where your foot should be. But here is the clincher. Take a close look at this, especially the foot, because if you look at it, there seems to be a shadow, and that is what has saved Akash Deep. His foot did not touch. And that is why when you look at it, his foot did not touch the back crease. It was minusculely by nano inches up. So that is why your foot can be in the air, but it cannot touch the back crease. Such is the way, it is just by a micro fractions. Akash Deep was lucky in that sense. So that is why, if you look at it, Ravi Shastri and Stuart Broad had also discussed it on air, that it was probably not given a no ball because his foot was in the air, it wasn't grounded. So despite rule 21.5.1 reiterating, but there were two things in that. Touching, it didn't touch by the barest of margin. If you even slow it down, you could see that the back leg of Akash Deep buckles slightly, and that is what probably saved him in ensuring that it didn't touch. But if you argue for the fact that no, it can be a no ball, you might argue that, okay, how can the umpire be so certain that it didn't touch? Maybe you should have had a closer look at it. There wasn't any of that. Play just continued. So, the umpires may be guilty of not checking it with due diligence, but it looked close, and luckily there wasn't any major controversy because it did not touch. Hardly by the barest of margins, Akash Deep got the decision in his favor. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this video. Subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis.